Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. We're having a couple of technical difficulties. Is anybody here with me today? If you're here, let me know in the chat. It's Miss Michelle with you for Storytime. Oh, are you there? Let me know. I'm at home. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Storytime. I'm Miss Michelle. I work at the Hastings Library. I'm in my living room right now, though. We're going to have story time together. Good morning. Yay! I'm sorry to be late, everybody, but I'm here now, so let's get started. Let's see. We'll do the peanut butter and jelly song to say hello. Peanut butter and jelly, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as high as we can. Peanut butter and jelly, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as low as we can. Hello. Whoa, did you go low? Peanut butter and jelly, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as fast as we can. Hello. Good. Peanut butter and jelly, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as slowly as we can. Hello. Right out of breath. Peanut butter and jelly, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as loudly as we can. 1, 2, 3. Hello! Ooh, I think my neighbors heard that. Peanut butter and jelly, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as quietly as we can. And peanut butter and jelly, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as nicely as we can. Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being here. Today we have some fall stories. We're in the middle of fall. Halloween's over. Thanksgiving's coming. So let's get started. The first story that I have is a tale from India. And it's called Grandma and the Giant Gourd. This is Grandma. Grandma lived in a tiny village at the edge of the village in India. She had a beautiful vegetable patch that she loved to take care of, and she lived right next to a dark jungle. And sometimes she could hear noises coming from the jungle, like the lumbering elephants going thump, 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 or the giant lizards traveling over the dry leaves going thrush, thrush, thrush. But Grandma was never afraid. That's because Grandma had 2 loyal dogs named Kalu and Bulu, and they helped protect Grandma, and they helped tend her garden too. Now one day, Grandma got a letter from her daughter who lived all the way on the other side of the deep, dark jungle. And the letter said, "I miss you. Will you come and visit me soon? We haven't seen each other in so long." And Grandma said, "I miss you too. Yes, I'll come visit you." Now she was a little afraid inside because she had to go through that deep, dark jungle. But then she said to herself, well, what's life though without a little adventure? So she got ready and packed her things, was ready to set off. And she said, "Okay, boys," to Kalu and Bulu, "I'm leaving on my trip. Make sure you tend my garden." "Ruff, ruff," said Kalu and Bulu. "We will. We'll tend your garden. We'll take care of it. And we'll listen for your voice. If you need anything, just call and we'll come and get you." "Okay, bye-bye." And Grandma walked off into the jungle. Well, as she was walking along, she came upon a fox with sharp, pointy teeth. And that fox said to Grandma, Grandma, thank Thank you for coming along just when I am so hungry. You look delicious. And Grandma's heart went to-hip, to-hip, to-hip. But she didn't let the fox know that she was scared. Instead, she said, "Oh, but look at me, I am so thin." "You don't want to eat such a thin old woman, did you?" "I'm on my way to my daughter's. Why don't you wait till I come back from there, because she is such a good cook, and I'll be plump and juicy by then." And the fox said, "All right, that sounds good." "Hop, rip-hop," said Grandma. "That was close." Oh. And she walked on. And who did she come across next? Well, she came across a big, black, shaggy bear who was flexing his claws and sharpening them on a rock. And he said, "Ah, Grandma, how nice of you to come along just now, because I am so very hungry." Grandma's heart beat again, going da-hook, 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 da-hook. But she didn't let the bear know that she was scared. Instead, she said, "Oh, but you don't want to eat someone as skinny as I am. Why don't you wait till I come back from my daughter? I will be nice and plump and delicious, because she is such a good cook." And the bear said, "Oh, that sounds good. All right, I'll see you then." And Grandma continued to walk, thump, 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 saying, "Whew, bop-de-bop, that was close." And she came next onto a sleek, striped, big tiger who was crouching low and swishing his tail. And he said, "Ah, Grandma, thank you for coming along, because I am so very hungry." Grandma's heart went doom, doom, doom. But she didn't let the tiger know how scared she was. Instead, she said the same thing. "Well, look how bony I am. You don't want to eat me now. Instead, why don't you wait till I come back from my daughter's, because she is such a good cook, and I'll be nice and plump and juicy then." And the tiger let her go. Whew, what a relief. Grandma walked on, and she did make it to her daughter's house eventually. And she had a wonderful time at her daughter's house, playing with her grandchildren. And she worked in her daughter's garden too, watering and digging and sprinkling the fishbone fertilizer all over the plants. And the plants and vegetables grew so large that people from 3 villages came to admire them. Now, Grandma was having a good time, but after a while, she began to miss her own home, her own garden, and her dogs, Kalu and Butu. So she said to her daughter, "Dear daughter, it's time for me to go home. Well, I wonder if my dogs have been guarding the garden, or if they've let the birds and the animals eat away at it. I best be going." But then she started to worry, how am I going to get by those animals, the bear, the tiger, and that sneaky fox? I can't use my words to trick them this time. And her daughter said, "Don't worry, we'll come up with a plan. Let's go into the garden and think." They did. And as they were sitting in the garden, an idea came to the daughter. She said, "I know what to do. Let's hide you inside one of my giant gourds." Here's a gourd like a summer squash. And they took that gourd, they carved it out so it was empty inside. And you know what they did? They hid Grandma inside the gourd. She got all crumpled up, and they didn't want her to be hungry, so they put in some puffed rice and tamarinds with Grandma so she'd have something to eat. And then the daughter sewed up the gourd nice and tight, And then she put rice glue all along the edges to seal it so Grandma would be safe. And then her daughter brought Grandma to the edge of the jungle and gave her a big push down the path. And Grandma rolled, rolled, rolled. Well, who did she run into on that path? She ran into the tiger again. And the tiger said, what kind of creature is this? I've never seen such a giant thing. It looks, I don't know what it is. And he sniffed around the edges. But because it was sealed with the rice glue, he couldn't smell Grandma. And Grandma said in a high, thin voice, I'm just a little gourd singing my song. Won't you give me a push and help me along? So the tiger gave a big push to the gourd with his big head, and the gourd went bouncing down the jungle path. And who should come upon the gourd next? The grizzly bear. And the bear said, what on earth is this creature? I've never seen anything like it. And he too sniffed around the edges. But because it was so well sealed with the rice glue, he couldn't smell Grandma inside. Grandma said, I'm just a little gourd singing my song. Won't you give me a push and help me along? And the bear said, well, all right, but I sure am hungry. I wish that old woman would come back. And he gave the gourd a swipe with his big paw. And Grandma went spinning down the path. And she said, oh, goodness me. I'm glad this gourd is so soft on the inside, or my bones would be shaking like the stones in a rattle. But she was still safe, and she traveled on until she came to the clever fox, who was also very hungry. And she said, well, first he's smart, this fox. So before Grandma said anything, he sniffed around the edges, and he thought, well, I've never seen anything like this. And you know what? Something very odd, and I'm gonna figure it out. Before Grandma could sing her song, he picked up the gourd and shook it back and forth and dug his sharp teeth into the edges, and before you knew it, the glue cracked and fell off, and Grandma came tumbling out. Oh dear, Grandma, she's all a mess. Ooh, and the fox, who was so hungry, said, oh, Grandma, you look delicious. And Grandma said, well, I guess you got me fair and square, but could you grant me one wish? Could I sing a song before you begin to chew on me? And the fox said, oh, well, all right, as long as you hurry up because I'm hungry. Grandma said, I will. And then she said, Kalu, Bulu, toot, toot, toot. Louder. Kalu, Bulu, help me do. Kalu, Bulu, I need you. Well, back in the village, Kalu and Bulu could hear Grandma, and they knew she was in trouble. So they ran, whoosh, whoosh, as quick as the wind, into the forest. And you know what? They weren't just running. They were baring their sharp teeth and growling. And they scared that fox so terribly that he ran off and never came back. And Grandma said, oh, thank you, boys. Thank you so much. You saved my life. Ruff, ruff, said Kalu and Butu, because they were very modest. And they said, oh, Grandma, it was nothing. And that's the story of Grandma and the Great Gourd. Thank you for listening. Yes, Grandma got home to her doggies, so everything was okay. Thank you for listening to that. Let's do a little movement now. You know what? It just started raining outside where I am. So let's stretch way, way, way up to the sky and pretend it's raining. Raindrops all the way down to the ground. Can you touch the ground? All right. How about put your hands on your shoulders, hands on your knees, hands behind you if you please, hands on your hips, hands by your nose, hands on your hair. Now almost touch your nose. Now reach up as high in the sky as you can and let the raindrops fall all the way down again. Good. Is it raining where you are? Can you see the rain where you are? I can see it a little, but I can really hear it pounding down. It's getting colder out. Did you notice that? So like I was saying before, it is not Halloween and it's not Thanksgiving. Not yet anyway. And I have a story about another vegetable. This is called the ugly pumpkin. Let's take Grandma and her two beautiful dogs off the board. Let's put a little fall scene up there. Got a beautiful oak leaf and some pumpkins. And, oh, here's a beautiful, colorful maple leaf. Let's put that up there because that's fall. Let's put these over here. Oh, look, jack-o'-lanterns. This is called The Ugly Pumpkin. It's by Dave Horowitz. I'm the ugly pumpkin, as you can plainly see. Out of 1,001 pumpkins, there's not one quite like me. Early in October, I've been waiting to be picked. But every time things start looking up, I end up getting tricked. Let's see, one day, a skeleton came by and I said, "It's getting late. Can I get a ride?" He looked at me and laughed and said, "No way, not a ride." Oh. I walked into November when the days were crisp and clear. I said, "Are you sure I can't come with you?" And he said, "No, don't even come here." Well, I walked where the forest was, where I came upon some trees. I asked if I could stay with them, and I even said, "Please." They started to smile, and then one finally spoke. He said, "Put down your roots and stay a while." Another cruel joke. "I am the ugly pumpkin," I shouted to the sky. Just then it started raining, so I began to cry. I walked into a garden that was overrun with squash. Suddenly, something felt sort of strange, and I said, "Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I'm a squash! Look, I'm a squash!" Well, I was so very happy because I finally fit in. Now we know where I belong, so let the feast begin. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And that's the story of the ugly pumpkin who was really a gourd. So I hope you have a happy, happy Thanksgiving too. And I thank you for coming to Storytime today. All right, let's sing. It's time to say goodbye. Bye-bye. It's time to say goodbye. Bye-bye. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Make it gorgeous. Bye-bye.